everybody, and welcome to the June instalment of the 2022 Mystery Blanket Club. I've just come back from a super trip to the Watermill in Italy, where I was joined by 11 knitters who spent a glorious 7 days with me, sitting in the sunshine every day, knitting, eating and drinking. It was fabulous. I am actually going to return there in 2024, probably around the same time in May. So if you fancy it, it would be great to have you on that trip in 2024. It was a super holiday, my first time abroad since the COVID situation. It just felt lovely to be away. So I've come back lovely and refreshed, ready to talk to you now about the June patterns. So all of the parcels for the Mystery Blanket have now been posted to you. It was very good news to hear that many of you overseas received your parcels in as short as 4 days. I think we had some Canadians receive their parcels within 4 days of us posting them from the UK, which is incredible. So hopefully most of you have got your parcels. I know that some of you are still waiting, and it is a little bit frustrating, I know, but fingers crossed those parcels will be with you soon, and then you'll have your complete knitting kit, which will take you right through to the end of the project. So in your knitting kit, you will find there are 2 new colours of yarns and 1 new colour of beads. Your yarns are these beautiful soft green colours. So this one is sea green and this one is called chaise longue. Okay, and you should also find your packet of teal beads. This is one of my favourite colours in our range. I love this colour. Goes beautifully with the chaise longue and the sea green. And also in your pack, as well as all the other yarns, which will all be duplicates of what you've had before, including the other beads in your parcel and some buttons too, you will have a little coloured envelope that says woven label inside, do not open if you want to keep the title a secret. Now, your envelope might not necessarily be this colour because we use various different coloured envelopes that we have to hand, but if you don't know the title of the blanket at the moment and you want to keep it a secret, you want to keep it a mystery, I would put that somewhere safe, and then you can open that when you've guessed. Or if you just think, I just want to know what it is, I just don't want to guess anymore, open up this envelope and all will be revealed. We've done our very best to try and make sure that your die lots are the same between the 2 parcels that you've received. It's been incredibly difficult this year with all the problems that we've had with deliveries of yarn, and we have had to move yarn around between our 3 different postal locations just to get yarn in the right place to send out to our members. We've done our very, very best, but if you do find that you have an odd die lot in one of your colours or some of your colours, it's not a huge problem. All you've got to make sure is that if you're knitting a square that is one colour, such as Panache this year, which uses mint yarn, then you must make sure that you use a new ball for that, so the whole square is knitted in one die lot. The die lot variances are usually very small, and to be honest, in my prototype blanket, I just used all bits and pieces. I think there's several different die lots in there, but you wouldn't know because I've used it in things like the stripes and where there's small areas of colour, so you would not know at all. I know that some of you might perhaps worry about it, but it's honestly not an issue at all. If you just do, as I suggested, to knit whole one colour squares all with one ball, you should be absolutely fine. Any queries, any problems, any concerns, just get in touch with us and we can talk to you about it. So on to the squares for this month then, and you have 5 squares to knit this month, and there is an option as well. You have 1 square that has 2 options. So first of all, we have square number 4, which is Cartier. This is the square that has 2 options. So option 1 is a Fair Isle square. You can just see it here on page 6 of your June mail out. Okay, it uses the new yarn in your kit, the Chaise Longue, together with Pickles and Royal. Option 2 also does use a little bit of ferrule, but it's very basic ferrule. It's basically just changing alternate stitches between Pickles and Chaise Longue. You have come across this before, and as far as I know, knitted it successfully, because I haven't had any emails to say otherwise. So hopefully that will be quite straightforward. So that's your square number 4. That's in strip 1 on the left hand side of the blanket as you look at it flat. The second square is panache. Now panache is a cabled square. I've presented it in both worded and as a chart too. Just take note on the chart, there are loads of symbols on this chart. There in particular, just beware of the knit one through the back of the loop and the purl one through the back of the loop, which is represented by a forward slant, okay? These stitches you work through the backs of the loops, and it means that it just makes the edges of your cable super neat, and it just twists the stitches, so it just makes them look more precise at the edges. So just watch out for all those symbols. You may want to use the worded or the chart, or both together if you prefer to work that way. L'Envers on page 13 is, if you like, kind of like the sister square to L'Envers 1. This is L'Envers 2 actually. A similar square but different colours. Again, it uses the new colours Chaise Longue and Sea Green. I'll just check that it does. Yes, it does. The lace pattern there is a variation on what you did for L'Envers, the first one, which was I think a couple of mail outs ago. Okay, so a bit of lace, bit of chevron striping, bit of garter stitch striping with lurex in there, making it look extra sparkly. Your final square then is 31, Souvage 2. Okay, so you had Souvage 1 where your twisted stitches went towards the left. In this square, it's the same design, but the stitches are twisted towards the right instead, and you've got different coloured beads there. You're using rose and clear, as listed on page 17 of your mail out. And again, there you have that presented as worded or as a chart. Okay, so hopefully everybody's happy with that, and you can work your way through those squares nice and easily. There are no new video technique demos this month. All the techniques that are used in the June squares, you can use the previous videos if you need any extra assistance. I will list in the written blog which techniques would be useful for which squares, and I will also reference which month's blog they're in, so that you've got a quick reference there to find any technical help you need. Again, any queries, just ping me an email, drop me a message, and I'll spring into action and give you all the help that you need. Okay, so before I sign off today, just a few things. I've been asked quite a few times, can I just, when I get to the end of the square, can I just knit on the next square? Why do I have to cast off or cast on a new square and sew it on, or cast the stitches off and pick them up? The reason for that is those extra seams in the blanket between the squares are going to give your completed blanket a lot more strength. When all those squares are pieced together, the blanket will be quite heavy, and there's a lot of beads in this year's blanket. So those horizontal seams are really, really important in the blanket. So that's the reason why I say either sew together, cast on, sew on a square, or pick up the stitches to create those seams. They are strengthening points in your blanket, and they are very important. When you come to choose your option this month, and square 4 Cartier is the square which has 2 options, it doesn't matter whether you choose option 1 or option 2 for that square. However, when you are given square 46, which if you look across the grid is on the other side in line with square 4 on the far right hand side of the blanket. It's important then that you do knit the same option so that the design is balanced. I will let you know in the blog and in the patterns as well. I will write on the patterns whether it's crucial that you choose the same option as in a previous mail out. So at the moment you can just knit whatever options you like, whichever one you prefer. So I don't want anybody to worry about that. The options, I will make it very clear in the patterns if and when you need to make a particular choice. Just one last thing before I go. I'm just going to talk a little bit about blocking and pressing, which I think is crucial in the process of creating and knitting up your blanket. I have a very good board here. I have actually shown it in the written blog I think a couple of times. It's a cushioned quilters board. I mean, this is a large board. You don't need a board as big as that, but what I really like about it, and you can see how well used it's been by all the pin marks, I love the fact that it's got these grid lines on it, which makes it so easy to pin out my squares to the correct measurements. Okay, so a board of some description is I think really important. You can also get those foam jigsaw puzzle boards, which like kids play mats, which are also brilliant for your pinning out. I've recently discovered though, and many of you have probably already got these, I'm perhaps a bit late to the party, but here we go, these Knit Pro blockers, which are like little combs. Look at those wonderful colours, those rainbow colours, aren't they gorgeous? Basically you have combs in two sizes, so you have a large comb and a smaller comb, and you can use those to pin out the edges of your knitting, and they pin out really flat with these and much more quickly as well than using individual pins. So I'm thrilled to bits with my knit blockers. Really useful tool, one of my most favourite recent purchases. So they're being put to good use at the moment. Blocking and pressing is important because not only does it relax the stitches, but it changes the whole quality of the fabric as well, especially like the Lurex, the squares of Lurex in. The Lurex becomes incredibly soft once it's been blocked and pressed. It's a very simple process that I use. I pin my squares out, wrong side facing upwards unless specified otherwise in the pattern. I spray down the whole square with cold water, making sure that the whole of the square is sort of pretty much saturated. I then, with my fingertips, just push the, make sure the water is distributed all through the square, particularly at the edges, just patting it down all over, smoothing it out. Of course, making sure that it's pinned out to the correct measurements, whether that means slightly easing in or easing out, that's what you must do. Just get them to the correct size. Then I leave the square to dry. If it's a sunny day, which it isn't today, but if it's a sunny day in the garden, a couple of hours, maybe even less than that if it's strong sunshine, will dry your square. When it's fully dry, unpin it and your square will be absolutely perfect. You can press each square as you go along. That's what I do, but then when I'm knitting the prototype blanket, I have to be checking constantly that all the measurements are fine. But if you don't want to press each individual square, you can instead just block and press a whole strip all in one go when it's completed. You haven't completed any strips yet, but you know, that's up to you, whatever you prefer to do. There's no right or wrong, there's no better way, it's just what you prefer to do. So that's a little bit of advice about blocking and pressing, very important. I really strongly suggest that you do it, and I think you'll be far happier with the finished blanket. So I'm going to sign off now and let you get on with your squares. I wish you all happy knitting this month, wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to seeing you back here in 4 weeks' time for the 5th instalment of the mystery Blanket Club. Until then, take care everybody, keep well, keep happy, keep busy, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.